Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, students. Again, this is Professor Murphy coming to you from Washington, D.C., and I have another quick video for you going into part one of the network design proposal for CMIT 265. So this will kind of dive a little bit deeper and give you a better understanding of what I'm looking for this part of the assignment. So again, you'll go into the content section here in Leo, scroll down to project instructions, and you'll be brought up to the project page. Now we'll be scrolling down all the way to the network design proposal parts 1 through 3. Now the information that you need for part 1 will actually be in, you'll get some information from overview, some information from physical network design, this part 1 here, and then some information from the building details as well. Same thing with part 2, you'll get it from overview, part 2, and building details, and then same thing with part 3, overview, part 3, and building details. But for now, we'll just be talking about part 1, so we'll take a look at the overview here. It says you will provide a detailed network design proposal, which we've already talked about. Your task is to design the network for this new building with the following criteria. Each classroom computer lab will be on a separate network. Will have its own subnet. The computer lab will be on a separate network, and the office/admissions computers will be on their own network. So all the computer labs will be on their own network. All the library will have its own network, and the office and admissions will have its own network as well. Finally, open Wi-Fi network should be on a separate network, but can use a private IP range. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. We're going to save that information for part 2. There must be a minimum of 40 megabit per second internet connection with the backup line capable of at least 20 megabits per second. Now, the cable, DSL, and FiOS should not be used as a primary internet service, and that's a normal thing in large businesses. You won't use cable, DSL, or FiOS as your primary internet. It's fine for a backup, but it's not good enough for a primary internet connection. If you're confused on what is left after that, feel free to let me know, and I can help you out. The network has been assigned a 199.1.2.0/24 network address for all computers and devices. It's a Class C. This actually has a little bit of a pain point with me, and I'll get into this deeper in part 2. But 199.1.2.0 is a public address, and public addresses should never ever be used in a private IP space. So since we are IPing the internal network, all of our computers internally on our network, we should not be using a public IP space. However, I brought this up with UMUC. They are changing it for next semester, I've been promised. So unfortunately, this is what we're going to be working with. But just to keep in mind, this is just an example. In real life, you would not be using a public IP space to address your internal network. Your proposal will be submitted in 3 major parts, and these are the 3 different parts. You'll have your physical network design will be part 1, your network addressing will be part 2, and then the third part is network service design. And then this is, I talked about a little bit in video 1 about the IP style or the IEEE citations. You should include at least 5 scholarly references. That is references that are reviewed, peer reviewed. So things like journals or databases or that sort of thing. Some websites are good to use if you're using documentation from, let's say you're using documentation from Cisco. That's usually a fair thing to use as well. Things that aren't really good to use are things like Wikipedia or any forums or any of that sort of thing. So stay away from those sort of things as references. Correct network terminology being used. Use of a diagram is encouraged. I actually very much prefer that you do use a diagram, especially because in future courses at UMUC, you will be creating diagrams, network diagrams. So it's good to kind of just get used to doing that, especially on a fairly simple network like this one. Also, if you want to check out exactly to see what I'll be grading on, you can check out the rubric here to get more information on exactly what I'll be looking for in each part of the assignment. So again, a physical network design here. You'll have 6 sections. The first one is going to define what topology you would like to use, and it's okay to choose one topology over another. However, I would encourage you to potentially use what's called a hybrid topology, that is multiple topologies within the one network. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I might do another video on hybrid topologies because I think it's a good idea to understand how they can be used and how they're generally used in organizations. The second one is going to be selecting appropriate network media. All this is saying what type of cable you want to use for your network. That's all the network media it is. Part 3, select the appropriate network connecting devices, including network security devices. So this includes, this is going to include your routers, your switches, your firewalls, any sort of network device like that. Part 4 is going to be selecting the appropriate computer systems to use to support the network design. Computer systems are going to be your servers and your workstations, your potentially laptops. So that's what Part 4 will be. Part 5, determine a physical layout of the computers on the floor plan along with the network wires. Network wiring diagram. So this is where I would like to see a network wiring diagram. You can also get a map of the floor plan down here in building details. Scroll down, see first floor layout, and you'll see your second floor layout as well. And so part 6, all that's saying is that you just need to have a justification for the top 4 parts: the topology, the topology, network media, the network devices that you've chosen, and the computer systems as well. So down here in building details, it says the 50-year-old 2-story building has the following layout, and we see the different classrooms. We have the library here. And the different offices as well. There's a closet in each one of these classrooms that'll actually be used. And just to note, not all of the classrooms in the map are being used. This is where we get more information down here. It says building dimensions, length is it's 240 feet, width is 95 feet, and height is 30 feet. The building will house 6 computer labs that will be used for instruction. In the building diagram above, the labs are labeled classroom 1, 2, and 4 on the first floor, and 1, 2, and 5 on the second floor. So you'll have 1, 2, 4. These are the only classrooms that are being used on the first floor, and 1, 2, 5 are the only ones that are being used on the second floor. Each computer lab will have a closet, as seen in the photo. Each lab will have 25 computers, okay? 23 student computers, 1 instructor computer, and 1 server in the closet for instructional use. Now, instructional use means that it's not going to be used as a domain controller or a DNS server or an Active Directory server or whatever. It's going to be used specifically for instructional use. So any of those other types of servers are going to be used elsewhere. To allow the students access to library resources, the library will also have 20 computers for the general public to use, and 5 computers for the library staff. Finally, there are 7 offices in the building. Each of these offices will have 1 computer for staff use, with the exception of the admissions office, which will have 5 total computers. There will be 2 server rooms, 1 on the first floor and 1 on the second floor. So that's about it as far as section 1. Like I said, the main things to remember are to cite your sources. Make sure you're using outside resources for your paper. Make sure that you have 3 different sections for each, or 3 different subsections for each section. So for the typology, you should have your business needs, and then have your proposal, and then have your justification after that. Same thing for your network media, your network devices, and then your computer systems as well. Let's see if there's any last pieces. There's also, let's see, computer systems, computer security devices, network media. That's about it. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, james.murphy@faculty.umUC.edu. You can also come in here to the discussions and drop me a question here and ask your questions for the professor. I will be, I always have I get an email alert when those emails, or when posts are posted in there. So I'll be able to answer those pretty quickly. If you post in the discussions, it usually takes me at least a day to get back to you. With emails, I can get back to you very quickly because I always have my phone with me and can just email an answer to you almost immediately. So email is preferred. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you in Leo. Have a great one, guys.